So I'm going to start by introducing our guests over here. We have Becky and Daryl Hawthorne and their son Emmett. Emmett is excited to be our next Rotary Exchange student, and because we have Jim Calvert here as our speaker, who's going to speak to us on all things exchange, I thought this was a perfect meeting.
So you're applying now?
Yeah, we have that application.
How's it going, the application?
It's pretty much ready. We have to get the photos in, take photos with the family because we've all been apart.
Sounds
but
good.
The letters are done, so.
Sounds good.
Like 90% done.
So I want you guys, I'm encouraging you guys to ask as many questions as come up while he's talking, so that because I need it too. It's been, I think I was the last host family to host our boy from Belgium, Olivier, yes. And the last time we sent students out, I think my daughter, who's 42 years old, was graduating high school. I think that was the last time we had one since I've been in. Yeah, so I've hosted 3 since then, but we have not had anybody go out. So we are like virgins in this, and we, that's not being recorded, and you need to know. We're rusty, yes, and we need to have our questions answered. So we're going to start a little bit with Happy Dollars, which we've been doing for our meetings recently. So, you guys happy about anything?
I'm happy that I'm here today, first time in 2 years.
Yay! Tara?
I'm happy for 2 things. I'm happy that Becky's here. And I get to go out of town with my friends. Last week I said I was happy because I was going out of town with my friends, but now I'm happy because I went. And it was a beautiful race. The Rogue River and the Upper Rogue is phenomenal right now with all the beautiful...
Your pictures were beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes.
The leaves are changing. It was gorgeous. Yeah, and it was like 85 degrees.
Oh, perfect. It was perfect.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I've had a nice time down on the coast camping for 4 days, so I'm going to probably go home today, I think.
Great. And I'm happy. So the update from last night's soccer game, because I know you guys are all interested. I'll wait until this gets delivered. So our boys played Umpqua Valley Christian, which is the only team that, our team is the only team that has beat them this season. We lost last night 1-2. The Umpqua Valley Christian team is a strong, nice, great team to play against. And they're skilled, they're fast, and we were playing missing a player who was an important player, and our boys did great just keeping up with them. I was really proud to be a grandma. And then at the end of the game, to see our boys hugging the Umpqua Valley Christian boys that they just played against, and girls, was just really a great high school experience. So I'm happy to share that.
Very good.
We're also going to talk a little bit, Carl, are you going to do that, about all things Ukraine, please?
Yes, I can do that. Well, yeah, I'll actually come up here. You may remember that seems like a long time ago, we sat in the Umpqua lobby accepting donations for Ukraine. We collected over $6,000. We divided it among World Central Kitchens, that is still there, cooking meals. A group of veterinarians who were sending money over to help with the pets who were being dislocated, and to Shelter Box, which is a program that Rotary has partnered with in many parts of the world. We just got an invitation to participate on November 3rd in the afternoon in a program thanking us and providing us with information as to how they have spent our money and are still spending our money in Ukraine. I've reached out to Rebecca at the library to see if the big room's available, with the thought that maybe we could sponsor a meeting there for the whole community to see just what we're doing. The second thing that we're doing is that I attended the grants meeting over the weekend. The district grants committee meeting. And I urge you to join me in attending those meetings because anyone who attends is a member. And you can attend on Zoom. So if you want to have a vote on how we spend district grant money on global grants, you can sign in and be involved. We took a vote to buy 2 mobile medical vehicle centers to put in country, given that the Russians are now bombing hospitals and destroying health care. And within 60 days, our district will be responsible for 2 of those being in country in Ukraine. The other thing that was talked about and we had a program on was the partnership with Welcome US that Rotary International has. Our federal government has created a Unite with Ukraine program, and they are expediting Ukrainian refugees coming to this country if they have a sponsor. And if they have a sponsor and the family, typically it's a family that does not have a father with them because they're fighting, qualifies, they can come and be in this country. And we have put on our website, the club website, the club Facebook page, and on community forum, a reach out asking for sponsors here so we can maybe bring a family to Curry County. Becky has someone she's reaching out to who gave us a large donation at the bank when we were doing that. I have a pastor's wife of the local church who's Ukrainian I'm reaching out to. And so hopefully, through this program, we can be involved and play a role in helping in a very material way. These families will need a lot of help when they get here, getting integrated into the community. The Rotary International is making disaster grants available for these programs. And so it may be possible, if it's necessary, that we could sponsor a disaster grant that would help pay the costs of the family finding housing, clothing, food, and what have you. So that's where we are on Ukraine. I think, it's really great. The district certainly appreciates that we're undertaking this. And there are already families in Ashland, I believe, sponsored by the clubs there. So that's everything Ukraine.
Okay, and now it's my pleasure to introduce Jim Calvert, who's going to tell you how he got involved in being our exchange student know-it-all, and answer our questions and talk about the program. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jim Calvert. I'm a Rotarian from Klamath Falls. I've been in the Rotary there since '94, so almost 30 years. I've lived in Klamath Falls for 30 years. I came to Klamath Falls to start a residency program to train country doctors, rural doctors. So I don't work there anymore. My wife still does work at the residency. We bring in eight medical students every year. They stay with us for 3 years. So that's what I did with most of my life. I've been retired now for 5 or 6 years, and I love not working. And youth exchange kind of keeps me pretty busy because I'm the local person in Klamath Falls. It's called a youth exchange officer, but I also am the district chair for the last couple of years, and I guess maybe I'll be stuck for another year after this doing that. It's sort of a difficult time to be the chair because, of course, 2 of those years we couldn't go because of COVID, and this is the first year we've had people out. So I'll just tell you about Youth Exchange and sort of start from the beginning. So Youth Exchange is a program that gets high school students to go to other countries to do a year of high school. And so, for example, we have Americans who go out for a year and spend a year in another country, going to high school, staying with host families. But usually, in other countries, usually those are actually Rotary families. We don't really have that rule here. We just use people. But in other countries, it usually tends to be Rotary families that you stay with. And go to school. So I'll start from the beginning. So Youth Exchange, and so we also have students coming here from overseas. And it's always an exchange. So if we send a student to Brazil, we'll accept a student from Brazil to come here. And so that's an important point. I'll get to some of the details about that later. But basically the way it works, there's two kinds of exchange that we have for what we call outbounds, the Americans going overseas. And there's a short term and long term. Short term is a summer exchange. And so if you were a sophomore in high school here and you decide you want to go on a short term exchange, you pick a country that you want to go to. Say you want to go to Belgium. Then Rotary, what we would do is match you with a student of the same age in Belgium, and you go there for a month in the summer. And then when you're done being there for a month, you and that Belgian student would come back to your house here in Gold Beach and spend a month. And so that's the short-term exchange. It's 1 month, you go away for a month, and then you bring your person you were paired with back for a month. It's fun, and that goes to a lot of different countries. I think there are even some English-speaking countries in short-term. We have a person, Charlie Kocher, who lives up in Coos Bay now, and he's in charge of that for us this year. Long-term exchange goes for a whole year. So, what's your name?
Emmett Hawthorne.
Say it's your first name?
Emmett?
Emmett.
Yes.
So Emmett's going to do that. So what Emmett is doing, he's applying now. Then there's a process where we interview him, we decide if he's okay. We decide if he's okay. Then in January, we have another meeting where we decide what country he's going to. And then we have a bunch of meetings around the state with Emmett and his parents, sort of learning about what you need to do to be a successful exchange student. And yes?
Does Emmett have a choice when you meet in January?
Sure, absolutely.
Countries?
Yeah, the way we do that, that's a good question. The way we do that is we know which countries we've decided that we can exchange with. So we give the students a list of those countries. And we ask them to rank them in order. Like my number 1 choice would be Brazil, my number 2 choice would be Germany, that kind of thing. So they do that in the morning. Then in the evening, we all get together, the committee, the Youth Exchange Committee, we get together. We have this computer program that somebody developed so we can say, oh, look, here, Emmett wants to go to Brazil, and that's his number 1 choice, and we have a space in Brazil, so we'll put him in Brazil. He's a match. And we kind of work down the list and figure out what to do. Usually, interestingly, most of the time, not everybody picks Italy. Everybody kind of picks different countries, so it usually works out so that most people get either their first or second choice. They have to understand that they might not, but generally, most people get their first or second choice of countries. But I wouldn't recommend picking Italy, because that is a little popular. So once we have these meetings, like I said, over the course of the spring, with you and your parents, sort of learning about how it all works. One of those is in Newport, so that'll be easy for you. And then in June, we're preoccupied with getting a plane fare, getting your plane ticket. It's a little complicated because we have to have an open ticket, so you can't get like a super cheap ticket that gets you there and back. We have to have a ticket with an open end, so in case something goes wrong, you have to come back quickly. So those tickets are a little pricey. They usually run around $2,000 or $3,000, those tickets. So we get everybody on their airplane organized, and then you leave in August. So usually leaves sort of towards the middle or end of August. Most countries want you there around the 20th of August or something like that, because they have some orientation before school starts. If you go into South America, it's all backwards, of course, because it's getting to be, when you go there in the fall, it's getting to be spring there, and so actually what winds up, if you go to South America, you usually wind up having about a month of school, then you go on summer vacation. But it all works out. It's okay. So as far as the outbounds, the countries that we go to, in Europe, we go to all the Scandinavian countries. So that's like Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark. Hope I didn't leave anybody out. And then we go to France and Belgium. Those are both French-speaking. We go to the French-speaking part of Belgium. There's also, a Dutch-speaking and actually a German-speaking part of Belgium. But we exchange with the French part. It's just what we always have done. It wouldn't really matter. And then we have Germany and Spain, and we go to Czech Republic or Slovakia. And it's sort of an exchange we send somebody to one of those countries. This year we have somebody in Slovakia, but that's a very good exchange. The only thing about those countries, the language is really tough. Czech is really a tough language. It's really one of the harder languages, along with Finnish, that are really, really tough. So, and then Spain, I think maybe I said every place in Europe, I'm not sure. Italy, Spain, Germany, France, those countries. And then we have some countries in South America. Brazil, we've had a long time exchange with a city called Curitiba in southern Brazil. The climate is more like this. It isn't really a jungle climate. It's kind of a nice climate, and that's a pretty good exchange. We get great students from there, and our students who go there usually have a few challenges, but it usually works out that we get everything settled. It's a big city. It's like over 1 million people.
We had a Brazilian exchange student one year, so she was great. Yeah.
We really get great students from them, and I think, obviously we send them great students, but sometimes there's a challenge. Just sometimes they put them in the wrong school. We have to fool around and get it fixed, but it's okay. Usually, our students who go to Brazil usually wind up at the university there in Curitiba, because the elementary schools and the other high schools are too low level for most of our students. So, and then the other countries that we do in South America is Ecuador has been a good exchange. We're going to definitely try and exchange with them next year. And then Argentina at times, Paraguay at times. With Chile, just for some reason, just hasn't worked out for us. Every time we've sent somebody to Chile, it just hasn't been good, so we don't go there anymore. If we feel like the Rotary Club in some country just isn't working with us well, we just let them know we're not going to exchange with them anymore. And see you, bye. So, but Ecuador, for some reason, this always seems to work out good. So I didn't really tell you about the committee, but we do have a committee in the district that does youth exchange. There's 12 of us, and so we meet regularly, and a lot of times by Zoom now, but whenever we have a meeting with you guys, go ahead.
I think at Camp Ryla, I met one of the people on the committee, and she was for a South American country. It might have been Ecuador.
That was probably Alexis.
I think I met her at camp. She was super nice. She did a presentation for us about it.
That was probably Alexis, because Alexa went to Ecuador on exchange, I believe 25 years ago, and she still goes every summer to stay with her host family. And they come to see her here. And so that happens a lot with exchange. You get these relationships that just go on for years, and people really become part of your family when an exchange student stays with you. So you'll be leaving in August to go wherever you go and get settled into school. It's very hard at first because you're in the Czech Republic, you're staying with a family that doesn't speak English, your Czech is a little rusty yet, you're going to school, and the school is in Czech, and you're like, I have a word, I understand a word anybody says, so it can be kind of scary at first, but usually by around Thanksgiving, things start to get a lot better because you get more language. That's kind of the way it tends to work. It's pretty good. The key to a successful exchange is the language, is getting the language. So if some places are really snotty, like France and Belgium, if you don't speak French, they're not going to talk to you. So you got to really work on that if you're going to one of those countries. Some places, the Scandinavian countries are almost the opposite, because everybody there is fluent in English in all those countries. They will speak English. You'll see people walking along the street in Norway speaking English. And then if they realize that they have a couple of Americans behind them, they'll switch over to talking Norwegian so you can understand them. But those are harder. It's harder because you have to get people to agree to speak Danish to you. Of course, they all want to learn English, so it's great. Exchange is really hard. It's really difficult. There's always really rough patches for every exchange when you go out, but people come back just so grown up and so changed by the exchange. It's such a positive experience. If you survive it, it's a really positive experience. It's really a good thing. A lot of the kids who go on exchange actually wind up with international careers. Like one of my other people on the committee is this guy Kurt. He has a son who went to Czech Republic, I guess maybe 7 or 8 years ago now, and he now lives there. He teaches. And he's married to a Czech girl and has little Czech babies. So it happens a lot that people really find what they want to be in the course of going on exchange. State Department is another place where people wind up a lot. So the other side of it is the inbounds. And the problem that we have is that the number of outbounds that we can send is limited by the amount of inbounds that we can take. So, like, we have this meeting in December for all the people like you who have applied. And what we'd really like is if we had like 30 applicants and 30 clubs that were willing to take inbounds, so then we could take 30 applicants. Usually it doesn't work out that way. Usually we don't have enough clubs being willing to accept an inbound, so that we are limited in how many outbounds we can send. So that's frustrating if you have a really good student. You have to tell them, sorry, you're on the waiting list. And so it's sort of frustrating. So that's why if you could possibly take a student here, that would be great. I know it's hard with a small club, but Tule Lake's taking one next year, and Lakeview, and one of the little places in Northern California, can't remember now. I think they're going to take somebody too. So
We are prepared to take a student.
we'd love for you to host. Yeah. Actually, that's one of the hardest things.
We will host.
That's one of the hardest things for a club to support an inbound is to find host families.
Yeah.
That can be a real challenge.
We have
There is-
hosted before.
There is some money too. It does cost money to support an inbound. To send an outbound like you, it doesn't cost the club anything. And the club could send as many outbounds as they want. There's no limit on that. But to take an inbound, the district charges a $750 fee, and then, which is just one of the ways that Youth Exchange gets money. And then the other thing is you have to give an allowance of $100 a month.
Plus pay for all their school supplies and
Yeah,
stuff.
what we do in Klamath Falls is we give them $125, and we say, that includes your school supplies. So people do different things. Some clubs are very generous, give the students a lot of money, which seems like a nice way to do it, but.
So it's the club that pays those monthly
Yeah,
allowances, not the
so if
host
the club is
family.
supporting,
Right.
sponsoring inbound, it's $750 that you have to pay to district, and then you pay the allowance for
monthly
the
allowance.
student, yeah.
So
And-
question, is
yeah.
the allowance going to the student?
Yes.
It's not going to the host family?
No,
The
we're
host
not,
family
no,
will
one of
take
the
care of
rules,
it.
one of the State Department rules is you're not allowed to pay a host family, even with like a card or something, you can't do it. And that's one of the things that you'll see some of the other organizations that sponsor students, they do pay their families. They're not really allowed to, but it gets kind of messy that way.
We did one year when we had a student stay with a family, and that student ate them out of house and home.
Yeah,
And the family couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And so we, as a club, helped with their food costs.
Yeah.
So we didn't pay them.
we do get some hungry people sometimes. Yeah, that's interesting.
Growing
Yeah.
boys.
So they also were willing to keep them for the whole time, but as I understand, they're supposed to go to multiple families.
Well, normally we would like to have at least 2 families.
Okay.
We try to get 3 families if we can, have each do 3 months. The reason, it doesn't really matter. The reason is that if it's a bad match, then it's only 3 months. And you know that if the family knows that the student's really a loser, they'll be out of there in 3 months. And if the family's really weird and the student needs to get out of there, then it's only 3 months. But actually, we will rescue people if we have somebody who's in a bad situation. We'll get
Can
them
a
out of there.
family request if they want a male or a female?
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure. Usually the club would do that.
right.
Yeah, the club
But
would
if you
say-
have a family that
yeah,
says,
Yeah,
I'd
so,
rather like a girl,
yeah, I find girls are much easier to deal with. But one of my family, we have 2 kids in Klamath Falls, and one of them insisted on a boy, so we put up with a boy this year. And he's doing fine, he's okay.
For example, we have a 13-year-old daughter at home, and so
Yeah.
it'd probably be best to have a girl.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah, I think you're, well, of course, there tend to be more girls than boys coming inbound, though. I mean, not that much, but there tends to be a few more girls than boys. Just as with our outbounds, we tend to have more girls, but there's usually a few boys. So this year, I think this year we had a very small exchange. We only had 15 because of COVID. We couldn't get started until February this year, so that was really, really hard. Because normally, like this, the last couple of weeks, I've been to all the high schools in Klamath Falls and talked to them about youth exchange to the students who might be interested. But we couldn't do that yet.
Once they're there, what's the standard for communication with their family back home? Is
Yeah.
there-
Well, what we do is we try and encourage you not to do too much. In Japan, they actually have a rule that you can't talk to your family for 6 weeks. We don't really necessarily do that, but it can be really bad, and we have it too with the inbounds. Like if somebody is, from Belgium, and they come here, and every night they go up to their room, and they're doing, whatever it is, all that stuff that I don't understand, with their friends in Belgium, and talking to their families on the phone in French, and they're not learning English, and they're not interacting with their families. So we try and get people, but we insist that he tell you when he gets there. Yes. Give a call home. I got here, Mom. Everything's okay. I found my family. I think I have a place to sleep tonight. Kind of thing. Other than that, people do different things. Some people do talk every day to their family. I think that's a little much. I
we
think
don't
less
talk every
than.
day now.
Yeah, email is a good way to go. Yeah, email is actually nice.
Our last son from Belgium would Skype his family every Sunday,
Yeah.
but he'd do it in the living room so that my husband and I also visited with his
That's
family.
great. That's great.
And so there was a little bit of language miscommunication, but
That's great.
it was good for all of us. So we became close with them. They came and stayed here. So they've been here 3 times, his whole family.
Anyway, I was saying we only have 15 going out this year, and I think we had only 13 coming in, as I recall. Or maybe it's 13 going out, 15 coming in. Yeah, that's what it is. We took a couple of extra inbounds because we had a couple of extra clubs beyond what we needed for our outbounds.
So we're owed some then. We're kind of
yeah,
on that.
it does. Theoretically, they owe us. Yeah, Brazil. We took one from Brazil, and we didn't send anybody to Brazil. He's in Lakeview.
So this is your senior year, right? that
Oh,
you're
this is
going?
my junior year.
He'll
So
be.
you're gonna be
I'm hoping
next
to
year.
go my senior year.
You'll
That's
go
what I'm
away
saying,
in your
you'll be
senior
going
year.
your senior year. What does that do, how does that impact graduation, say, from Gold Beach High School?
I have credits lined up, so like I'm taking an extra English. I should only have electives for my senior year. And I'm gonna be enrolled in an online class here to make sure I like stay with this
Oh,
school.
okay, wow.
So he can apply for scholarships throughout the year while he's abroad.
But like my
He's gonna
science
be
is
working
done, my
with
math is
the-
done.
I was gonna say, so how do you do your college apps and all
People
that?
can work, you
Yeah.
can work it out, the way you just said, yeah.
Because in the old days, you had to come back and redo that whole year you lost, right? That's how it was back, 20 years ago.
Maybe.
Like if you succeed in the school in that country, your grades passing, then they're considered.
Usually they'll take it, particularly things like
He's setting
math,
up so he doesn't have to worry.
math and English and language.
Or go,
Yeah.
yeah, good idea.
Yeah, so the classic is you apply your sophomore year and go away your junior year, and you're back for your senior year. You can actually do it as a gap year too, after graduation.
Okay.
We do have people who do that too, and that's fine. You have to be under 19 in August when you, under 18 and a half, I guess, in August of the year you leave. So most kids will be under 18 and a half when they, the summer they graduate from high school, but some of them won't. But actually, usually if we have somebody who's 19, we can usually find a country that'll take them. It's not a law or anything, it's just kind of a Rotary thing.
See, I think we've always sent our students out either their senior year or the year after. I didn't realize most clubs did their junior year.
The junior year would be it's the easiest,
Okay.
because then that's also a good age. You're 16. That's a very good age for learning languages. Your brain is still really plastic when you're
Emmett's
16.
brain is fine.
Yeah.
Plastic.
He's plastic brain.
Yeah, so once you figure out what country you're going to, you just start working on that language like every day. And it's very hard. It's very hard at first learning the language, but after a while, if you keep plugging, after a while you realize you're starting to get it. And when you get there, you say, oh, that's not what I learned, but then you realize, oh yeah, that wasn't what I learned. So, I think I pretty much explained everything to you. What would be great if you guys could consider taking next year, an inbound. That would be, the 23, 24 year. This year we're good. We're not worried about anything this year. All our inbounds are happily settled around the state. When the inbounds come, they all come in August, we have an orientation weekend at my house in Klamath Falls. They all come and put tents in the backyard, they all sleep in the backyard. It's a lot of fun. They stay for the whole weekend. It's really fun. We go up to Crater Lake and do a hike, and it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. They're just got back. The inbounds all went on a trip for a week, a little more than a week. They just got back on Monday of this week from that trip. Usually we do it at the end of the year, but this year there was another district that wanted us to come with them and do it now. So
May I ask what your area, your district covers?
yeah,
and
we
how
have Oregon, but we don't have Portland or the Gorge,
Okay.
and then we have Northern California. So there's several like little tiny towns in Northern California that have like Rotary clubs with like 8 people.
So if we were to take an inbound and you're going to have trips like that, are we supporting are we creating the, no.
Do you have to pay for the trip?
No, not paying for the trip, just the commuting for the trip. Are we taking them, chaperoning or chauffeuring them over to a destination, or is?
Oh, no, if it's a trip, no, they would just go, they pay for that.
Okay.
Your
But we didn't get them
Your
somewhere.
Rotary Club should be helping you support that.
Okay.
But- but
we
wait,
would find
Logistics
some,
of getting them there.
Yeah.
yes, we
Yeah.
would find people to do it, or a lot of times there's clubs either in Brookings that has an exchange student, Port Orford often has exchange
Yeah.
students, where we would say, just like when you were going to Ryla,
Yeah.
where we got a group of people
Just
together.
so,
Yes.
Rotary will help with it.
I took Olivier to Pelican Bay Prison because remember when he really wanted to see that and nobody wanted to go? I said, Pelican Bay, alrighty.
Yeah, we take the Lakeview kid places because otherwise that's a long drive. Like
Yeah.
from Lakeview out to the coast, it's really far. But if they just have to take them to Klamath, it's easier.
Yeah, and we could take, I mean, whoever you had to Grants Pass and meet up, because there are other clubs that are gonna be
That's right.
having, yeah, we would make it work out.
Yeah,
So if we make before I leave, he's worked on earning some money, and now we're at a point where we probably need to do the fundraising and the rest of it. And just wanted to see if there would be any support from Rotary to get the fundraiser up and running, especially having the name.
for Emmett to go, you mean? That?
Yes.
Yeah,
Do a fundraiser for that.
yeah, usually the clubs will help with that.
Do you have an
It's
idea
eight
on what
plus.
you'd like to do?
Oh, we talked about a couple of I mean, we have it's just, and then
Yes.
figure out anybody on the Rotary, in the Rotary group that would be willing to help and kind of see the fundraisers through. Would be great.
So we had a couple ideas, just based on past experiences that I've had. In Arizona, there's a very successful a bingo night, and that worked really well. A lot of people came to the school. It was for Christmas time.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, bingo night with some food there, and that worked out really well.
And some auctions, items to auction.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then last year, one of the volleyball players, the varsity volleyball players, they hosted a 4v4 volleyball tournament at the high school
I remember
to raise
that.
money, and it was super popular. But none of the volleyball girls were picking it up for their senior year, so we were thinking it might be possible for us to use that as well.
That's a great idea.
What was that?
It was a 4-on-4 volleyball tournament.
Oh.
Said community volleyball.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you just pay some
They
money,
pay an entry
pay
fee
some
to
money
play
to get in and
volleyball.
play. Yeah,
Yeah.
our team got third. The Hawthorne family got third.
Was there a prize for the winner?
Bragging rights.
Bragging rights.
Okay, good. So
Yeah.
that all the money earned would go,
Yeah.
yeah, and we could do some food
What's it
sales.
called?
And auction stuff again, like, you know, pickleball basket, disc golf basket, just
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah,
People do dinners too sometimes,
Like
Yeah.
a spaghetti theater
yeah,
shopping.
and then get Rotary people to come. Unless they're really cheap, like the ones in Klamath Falls.
yeah.
Come up with $5 or something, and it's like,
Uh-huh.
thanks a lot, you know?
I like the volleyball tournament idea. That's a great idea.
And then, I don't know the logistics about it, but I go to Ray's in the case and I see the firework donation jar. And I was wondering if it's possible for us to get a donation jar for funding the exchange, like they do with fireworks.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put
I don't know if there's
Rotary Youth Fund or
Yeah.
something so they know what it's going for.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just a basic candy.
Yeah.
Come and sit have Carl come sit at the bank for donations. Yeah, it works every time.
You did really well on Ukraine.
And that's something you could look at doing too, is going to the entities like Umpqua Bank and
Yeah.
sitting at my table out in the foyer, you know, once a week or one day a month or something, and just have Rotary Youth Exchange. And as long as you're out there in the foyer, it's not any kind of conflict of interest.
Oh.
And people could just sign up and donate. And, you know,
Okay.
the local people are more
That sounds good, yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, and I'll loan you a Tom Brady autographed football that you can let people hold for a photo.
Yeah.
I have a baseball, you like baseball, I have a baseball autographed by Ted Kennedy.
Oh my goodness.
That would go over big here in Oregon.
It's just like, who cares about Ted Kennedy in a baseball?
Wow.
It's not like having Pedro Martinez.
Is
Or, you know.
there a time when we can meet with somebody that would be willing to go over these ideas and start pulling it together and come up with, I mean, whether it's.
Yeah, Tara and I will be on that committee.
Oh. She's
Because they're on all
the.
the committees.
Honestly,
There are the committee session.
you need more than the 8,000,
Very
because you
well.
really need some money for expenses and for a year
I
of
can-
We'll be
trip and
doing
stuff.
Talk about like even.
I can make
Yeah, so
So when do you leave?
August.
August.
Of 2023?
Yes, so
Okay.
I'll have
Okay.
2 months to work a summer job. It really comes down to it. I probably will just to get that extra boost.
That would probably be the extra money.
And you'll
But-
know what country in January,
Mm.
correct? Which will really help.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then tell them what you've done so far.
This summer, I worked at Tatutin with Kyle, as a groundskeeper, and I was able to raise about 4,000. So I've got 4,000 saved. And then the cornhole charity event, we were at the Snack Shack, and we were able to raise about $500
Great.
cash. So I've got about 4,800 saved up.
And
You
then
know, there's
400
also-
in donation.
Slave labor, like people like me, they're old and have property, I need people to weed eat and stuff like that. And they're willing to pay lots of money for
Okay.
you to, by the hour.
Yeah.
You know, and in 4 hours, you can make $200. I mean,
Yeah, this Saturday, he's got that going where he
Yeah.
works for somebody and they're gonna pay him $20 an hour for
Yeah.
doing some work.
Great.
Some
I
manual
can
labor
work
there,
on
so.
I'll pay more than that too.
Here, I'm
We
hoping.
got a bidding war going.
Do you have a car?
Car? I do not have a car.
But he is getting his
Ticket,
license
ticket.
a week from
Ticket?
now and he will have a car.
To use, not
Could you
to
read the last three digits?
Okay.
use.
By when?
Right now?
Yes.
Next.
251.
Okay, all right. No problem. I think I got the big one.
Way to be,
Okay.
way to be here.
Pull the card,
You have to
you
get it.
can't look,
You can't look.
you get the joker, you get $250.
I'm looking for that joker, I can feel it, it's it. Not two.
Two of spades.
oh, good, saved our money.
So are there any other questions you guys have?
No, but I'll meet with you, and I'll bet Kyle would help do the 4-on-4 volleyball tournament, because
Oh,
he's,
yeah.
when the season's over for them,
Yeah.
when their playoffs are over, and we could do it in the spring.
Yeah, we've already chatted as coaches about that.
Oh,
So
good.
we were hoping a young one would take it
Yeah.
over and
Yeah.
purchase the sport, because we can't actually run it as coaches.
Right, but who did it last year that you could confer with?
Cadence Wilstead and Paloma Cruz.
And they'll be home for Christmas.
Probably. And I can
We
just
can just
text
call
them and call them
Yeah,
too.
perfect.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I like the idea of that. It was very popular. We were playing volleyball last week, just organized adult volleyball, and some of them were asking about it, wanting to do it again. So
Great, well, let's come up with a date right away so we can make sure nobody does that same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.